Still Particle, still Particle. The Boston Celtics, still Particle, still Particle. Oh yeah! Still Particle, still Particle. The Boston Celtics, still Particle, still Particle. Banner 19.
Beat Robb, Jam, Packard, J. King.
Still Particle, still Particle.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Still Particle, still Particle.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Still Particle, still Particle. Still Particle, still Particle. The Boston Celtics, still Particle, still Particle. Oh yeah!
Shut your ass up, man.
Daddy's always happening here.
Welcome back, folks, to Still Potable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's fine internet that we have here. I am Sam Packard. I've been covering and talking about the Boston Celtics for the last 10 years across various podcast platforms. Today, I'm joined by Brian B. Robb from MassLive.com, Celtics beat reporters, also been covering the Celtics for 10 years. And normally we are also joined by the great Jay King, Celtics beat reporter for The Athletic. We are an every single day podcast, but we got 2 free podcasts for you weekly right here on CLNS. Because we are on CLNS today, we are brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Use the promo code CLNS and get $50 in deposits after you play your first $5 lineup. If you want daily coverage from us, in addition to the free shows, you can find us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/stillpotable. We've got podcasts for you every single day. I did an instant recap pod after the Knicks game last year. Not last year, last night. I probably did one after the Knicks game last year as well. But we'll also have recap pods after the Wizards game, after the Lakers game. And so more content from us if you want that, patreon.com/stillpotable. Today, we'll get into some of B-Rob's reactions to the Knicks game. We'll talk about the Chris Paul brouhaha. But the main topic is the slop going around the NBA. And we all kind of saw this coming, but the Bucks are really not good this year. And there was a bit of rumors circulating. I think Windhorse went on some radio program and said, oh, Giannis has already asked for a trade. And then we got the shams drop earlier that Giannis and the Bucks have met already to discuss the future. Seems like Giannis is going to ask out if he's not done so efficiently. B-Rob, what are we to make of these Giannis rumors? Do you see a trade happening this year? What's going on? What's your reaction to kind of this Giannis news?
Feels like the trade is... I'd be stunned if it doesn't happen by like New Year's at this point.
Ooh.
If you're gonna have this drop, given them what they just lost to the Wizards, Packard. The Bucks lost to the Wizards, I think it was Monday night, with Giannis in the lineup. They're out of the play-in tournament right now, and Miles Turner is not the answer. This is not news. Shocking. I can't believe it. I can't believe he did not solve all their problems. And so, yeah, if you're Giannis right now and you're just looking around the Eastern Conference, you're probably just like, if I just get to a respectable team at this point, like we're probably going to be East favorites. And so whether it is going to be an East team, obviously there'll be plenty of teams out West that will like him, but it makes sense for Giannis to just look around and be like, why am I wasting another year of my prime here? I'm not doing anyone a favor here. And so let's get the wheels start going on this, because when you make a move like this, Packard, I feel like you don't wait till the trade deadline. This is a move that happens with like as early in the season as possible for whatever team he's going to, because they want to, build that chemistry and get the pieces in place heading into the home stretch of the season.
The thing that's tough though for the Bucks is that we operate in the modern CBA where there's a second apron, and Giannis makes $54 million this year. You're going to have to figure out a way to match salary. I think the first team that has come up as like a potential suitor, just because it was a team that Giannis possibly wanted to go to last summer, is the Knicks. The only way I've not done a full exploration of this, but like, does that mean they automatically trade Cat? Like, are they willing to do that at this point? I'm sure you do if you're the Knicks, but I'm not sure what the other kind of trades are out there. But I know when Giannis is on the table, teams will pretty much do anything to get that like a top 5 player in the league on their roster.
Yeah, it's when you look at teams like the Knicks and you look like what they have, it's like they pretty much just have player assets. And so that's the fascinating part of like this dance that's going to go. I mean, obviously talks were had back in the summer. Giannis kind of said, all right, I'm going to give this a go here. But the Knicks were on the top of that list. But then it's like, okay, like if Towns and other stuff is the offer, like what are the Bucks going to do with Towns? Like that doesn't really help them. Obviously, they want picks, they want young players. If they go around this route, they don't own a bunch of their future draft picks, and so it feels like the only way he'd go to a team like the Knicks is if he like forces a hand there and says like that's the team I want to re-sign with. He could certainly do that, but then he'd be kind of screwing the Bucks in the process, and maybe get some ill will on the way out the door. So, but regardless, they have, whether it's Towns, there's obviously plenty of other secondary pieces there, Bridges, Anunoby, etc. So like if that is the eventual destination there, like it's probably going to take a while because the Bucks are going to have to be like, all right, how can we spin the other guys coming in the door here into stuff that actually we can start building around for the future if Giannis is out the door, I feel like.
Well, that's tough. It's like, well, what team exists that has a bunch of draft picks, but it's also a team that Giannis will want to go to? Presumably he wants to stay in the East because you don't really want to go to the West and have to play the Thunder and the Nuggets. And I'm just like looking at the ESPN put out just a ranking of like different draft assets. Like the Nets are number 2 ranked team. Obviously the most annoying thing is that the Thunder are in terms of the number 1 ranking in terms of future draft picks, which like that's insane. But Giannis doesn't want to go to the Brooklyn Nets. Like that's not a better situation than the current Bucks roster.
No.
Next is Charlotte Hornets. Like, does he want to play with Brandon Miller? And then you got to put maybe they want to move on from LaMelo Ball, but that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. The Wizards are a similar situation. The Detroit Pistons could get interesting. I don't know how they necessarily what their contract structures look like, but you pair him with Cade, that might be an interesting situation. Orlando Magic just kind of gave up all of their draft pick capital to go out and get Desmond Bane. The Raptors have 7 first-round picks of their own. I don't know. There's no like obvious situation right here for there's no obvious Giannis destination just in terms of like team that's like he puts them over the edge, makes them immediate contender, but team that also gives them something like the Bucks, like what they want back in return.
Right. And so I think like the Raptors was another team that was thrown out in the summer of just like a place that Giannis might want to go to. And again, all these teams, like the Pistons, I think even the teams like the Hawks, like all these teams in the top of the East are like good enough, like have had strong enough start season where you could kind of, if you're in the front office, you can talk yourself into it there, being like, all right, like if we, have enough left over and after we make the move for Giannis there, like we're immediately like a favorite in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, like I said, whether that's a place that Giannis actually wants to go to is a factor. But as far as teams on that list, like Toronto, I don't think there's enough. There's just like a lot of big contracts there, but not a lot to like, certainly not like a can't miss prospect that the Bucks would be fawning over, I feel like. The Hawks are like maybe a little more interesting since they have that Pelicans pick for this year that is probably going to land in the top 5. So that's a pretty nice chip.
Do they have to give up Jalen Johnson if they're like?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, right. I would think that that's like a non-starter for them. Being like, if you give up Jalen Johnson, then like, what do you have? Do you have enough left? Like, I don't think Trey, and my guess is like, if they're moving on from Trey, like Trey might be the guy going out in this deal as opposed to like the guy that is you're pairing with Giannis.
I don't want Trey Young though. If I'm the Bucks, like that's not exactly. Like I want Jalen Johnson. Exactly. And if it's gonna be fascinating to see if this is a Giannis. I feel like Giannis has been very clear about like he doesn't want to demand a trade. He wants to be very polite. He wants like not it to be seen like he's driving the situation, but then you also hear rumors that his agent is driving the situation. And it's like, how much is he demanding like to go to his choice destination? I feel like we haven't seen a player really control where they want to go in terms of like trade demands in a while. Like Dame did not get his way. When's the last like superstar that was traded that basically got to pick their destination? It feels like it hasn't been since the old like Harden when he was asking out of Brooklyn. Like there hasn't been a clear, like the players feel like they have less control in terms of determining destination. Like they need to find that it's really the onus is on the team to find the deal that works best for them. And again, like it's hard to figure out that exact situation.
Right. I guess like Durant last year, even like Golden State shut down them going for, like he shut that down at the trade deadline. And then ultimately, like, probably gave Phoenix a couple options here. So whether
Giannis can probably definitely say no, like, but if he desperately wants out of Milwaukee, then he'll probably accept any sort of new situation.
Right, exactly. It's like the Bucks are say, okay, you want to be out, like give us 3 teams, and then we can that way because we have to have something to leverage ourselves here. Regardless, though, Packer, like just looking at it from the Celtics perspective, like this is bad news. Like I think the best case scenario for the Celtics is that like. The Bucks are just good enough for Giannis, like, is okay staying put there, and maybe like in a year or two, ass up. But like for him to get out the door now, or start to get out the door now, and with the vast majority of the suitors, I guess like the Spurs is one team out west certainly that has the capital to get him.
But I mean, if he ends up in Utah, it's great news for the Celtics. I mean, right? He's out of the Eastern Conference.
Austin Age to the rescue. Right, but regardless, it's him in Milwaukee was not a big threat, but him in some of these other places suddenly makes that team look obviously like a real imposing threat for this year's not the main concern, but far more than that. So far longer than that, and so the fact that the wheels are starting to spin on this now makes it seem like more of a certainty that it gets in place this year, and then. That team starts building chemistry together. So by the time Tim comes back next year, then maybe that team's whatever team that is ready to roll more. So it's a tough situation from a Celtics standpoint, but I guess it was inevitable based on how like the Bucks have looked these last couple of years. Like it's kind of wild it's taken this long, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it didn't necessarily happen this offseason. Like I don't know anyone who looked at this Bucks roster and thought, oh yeah, no, that's definitely going to work. Like their third best player was Kyle Kuzma. And even though Ryan Rollins has been playing super well because Rondo has apparently taught him some sort of witch magic, it just feels like it's easier at this point to make kind of deals in the offseason as well. I think it's a real problem for the Celtics if he gets traded to the Knicks or he gets traded to the Raptors. And not only he stays in the Eastern Conference, but you're playing him 4 times a year. And the Raptors are an interesting team because they're super, like, have a lot of depth, but not like high-end talent. And he ends up there. You can pair him with some young guys. It's it's like an intriguing situation.
Do they make that? I mean, I'm just looking at Toronto's roster right now. It's like obviously you got Barnes, Ingram is making $40 million a year. Quickly is making $32 million a year. That's still a very bad contract. Barrett. 27, Pirtle at like 19. So I don't know. It's like the Raptors are obviously going to want to pair up Barnes and Giannis, but is there anything else from a Bucks perspective there that you're like, yeah, that's like all your draft picks,
4 first-round picks and 3 swaps.
Right. I mean, I guess, yeah, you're certainly going to have to do the whole mother load, but even then it's like, I wonder if like other teams, you look at other teams around that, are you getting that same, full draft platter, but it can give you better talent or better contracts than some of those, I guess. But again, I guess Ingram's playing well this year. I mean, they've been better than anyone kind of expected out of the gate here. But it's a lot of it's going to come down to like how the Bucks probably brain trust review some of these, guys around the league, because clearly the money's going to have to match. So some big contracts are going to have to come back, and whether that also includes young promising talent or not is going to tend to depend a lot on the offers that are out there.
I want to highlight this comment from Trouble Laker 589. Don't worry, he's not staying in the East. And I saw a great tweet about this. It's like Lakers fans are about to propose the most unhinged trade ideas ever, and you can't even blame them because they just got Luka for the most ridiculous unhinged trade. So it's like, yeah, the Bucks are going to take Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent back, and like that, then they'll give up Luke or Giannis. I can't even blame you, Lakers fans. I can't even blame you. Like, this is just how things happen. I would be absolutely furious. I hope he ends up out west. As much as I like watching Giannis play, I do not like watching him play against the Boston Celtics, especially a Boston Celtics that doesn't have Al Horford on him, the Giannis stopper. But it's going to be fascinating, interesting situation to monitor. I feel like we haven't had a lot of NBA drama this year, but it's December now, and this is the time for this stuff.
But save for today, Packard. December 3rd was the official start of drama / the lop season.
Well, the NBA season doesn't really start till Christmas in true. So this is basically just a preseason rumor. We'll see what happens. We'll keep it monitored, but we'll definitely see what Giannis's reaction is next. Because that's the next fun thing about this is before every pregame, he's going to be asked about it. After every subsequent Buck loss, there's going to be questions about this, and so it's going to be clearly a frustrated Giannis. It's going to be interesting to see how he responds.
Do we want to? I guess we'll save it for. We should have a 2-minute. I mean, Brad Stevens bringing in the brain trust in the front office to just do you.
What is the possible?
What is the Giannis discussion in the upstairs right now?
So it would have to be a Jalen trade, maybe White and Hauser. I don't know how you even get, or maybe you can get Simons and White in there to make the money work.
Yeah, Simons and White would make the money
and all of your draft picks.
Right, like that still is not getting you to get you in the conversation. It would have to be a Jalen situation, and I don't expect that to be a consideration, especially the way Jalen's kind of playing right now. But that is when you think about it's one of those angles of being all right, do we get involved here? Do we need to block them from going somewhere we don't want them to go? Or is it just at a point where it's this is JT and Jalen are our guys, and so but it might be a non-starter anyway from the Bucks perspective, because again, what does Jalen do for them in a hypothetical scenario where he's on the table?
I think it's the type of thing where you gotta have the quick 10-minute meeting about it. It's just been what if we get that call? What are we prepared to offer? Because it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I would be absolutely gobsmacked if the Celtics were at all in on this Giannis sweepstakes. And so I just don't think they're a necessarily good trade partner. All right, let's take a break and hear from our friends at Prize Picks, and then we'll talk about the Celtics' best win of the season last night against the New York Knicks. One moment, I have to click the correct Prize Picks button. Oh, we went disco style. I forgot about the disco background. That's perfect to talk about our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is it's the holiday season, and this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, and it's the best time of year for sports. We got bowl games, we got basketball matchups, we got football playoffs. It's all happening at once. And so while you and I, B-Rob, are out here making decisions every day about what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where you can be right, and it feels great to be right. That is Prize Picks. Prize Picks just makes it fun to watch sports, and it's a great way to accompany the games, especially if your fantasy football season is super over. All you have to do in Prize Picks is pick more or less on two players' stats. Prize Picks has a number of different ways you can win money, a number of different stats. You can do fantasy score, free throws made. You could do field goals attempted, or even turnovers. You can even stack multiple players in the same lineup. You can do it across sports. So you could pick a little Jaylen Brown, Drake May combo if you're trying to do it. Prize Picks is simple to play. Again, just more or less on two player stats. Prize Picks puts its users first. All withdrawals are fast and secure. They accept most major payment methods, and deposits are quick and easy. So if you want to do that today, Prize Picks, download the app, use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Back to the Disco Celtics here. Celtics coming off the best week they've had this season. A win against the Detroit Pistons, a win over the Cleveland Cavaliers, a win over the New York Knicks. Those are the three best teams in the Eastern Conference. B-Rob, you were in the building last night for that game against the Knicks. They almost threw it away, but they had after a dreadful first quarter. That was just a class performance by Jaylen Brown, who is also having a phenomenal week.
He really is. I mean, best week of his Jaylen Brown's career, question mark, on top of certainly the best.
He did win finals MVP.
He won finals MVP, but like
in terms of individual performance, I think you might be right.
Yeah. Well, maybe the regular season. The playoff stuff we'll put in a separate category. But yeah, this is especially the way he started that game was like the 3 turnovers out of the gate. Things were really going sideways. You're like, all right, this should get ugly like it did at MSG at the start of the season. But he was the playmaking from him where he, no matter was going up against Prince, and like he would just find the matchup he wanted and pick it apart. And then again, like the Cavs game on Sunday night, like have the ability in the fourth quarter just to be like, I'm not going to force this. Like, I'm going to let the double teams come to me. Again, I got Harry at points, but he made the right play, or he had the right intentions that whole stretch. And so for him to kind of be able to do that and score at the level and with the efficiency he has been, it's kind of like the final frontier for Jaylen's career at this point. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that has always separated him from Tatum, I feel like, in terms of like the NBA hierarchy and the elite of the elite. And the fact he's kind of starting to get there this season, Packard, it's like it has to feel very good for Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens and everyone else to watch this unfold right now in a season that had so much uncertainty going in.
The playmaking is definitely there, and like you're right, when the Knicks started to show two, he was just making the simple, and I think he mentioned it, it's like that's just the correct basketball play. And so we can also talk about like the other guys who came in, but like it was hitting Jordan Walsh on the short roll and then spraying the basketball around after that. It was Minot on the short roll, similarly making plays. It's the end of the third quarter where he's dribbling down the last shot and they kind of double him there and he hits Derek White. Now, that being said, did the final 2 possessions or the possessions in the final minute where he kind of threw it out of bounds and it almost let the Knicks back in the game, is there room for improvement there? Absolutely. But he's definitely just making better decisions with the basketball. And he is shooting a insane percentage on mid-range jump shots. And I think 50% of his shots are coming from the mid-range. I truly don't know how sustainable it is, because it's just like, I think I was listening to a pod the other day where like, is his expected field goal percentage, or like what you would expect him to hit on taking this many shots? He's like shooting 11 percentage points higher. Like he is just making just like unbelievable shot making from the mid range. But I feel like a 21 game sample size, and he has not missed a game this year. He's going to miss the game against the Wizards, a well-deserved break before gearing up to play the Lakers. But it's been a 21 game sample size of him just shooting, just dominating in the mid-range, where it's like for other players, you might say like the long 2 is a bad shot, but he's shooting it at such an efficient rate that like that is great offense for the Celtics. And it's really the biggest thing sustaining the Celtics having a top 5 offense at this point.
It really is. And it's like, you can't defend against it if you're other teams. Like he's a tough shot maker in those spots. And you can throw doubles at him, but then that is opening the door for what we saw enough of in the fourth quarter last night, where the supporting cast was, hitting threes or, driving closeouts or anything there. So it's, I don't know. He's been a really good mid-range shooter throughout his career. I feel like last year was like a down year for him on that front, which may have been part of like the fourth quarter struggles for that hit hard through lots of last season. But he's in his own right now, and it's very fun to watch him operate in that. And the fact is, yeah, like right now, Packard, the Celtics offense this season is better than last year's offense from a numerical standpoint, offensive rating. So which is wild. I don't care. It's like been only 21 games. That is no one would have guessed that at that point in entering the year. And Jalen is probably reason 1, 2, or 3 on that list of why they're in that front. But the fact that he is not doing anything crazy beyond just making the shots that are there for him, and I don't see that going away anytime soon.
And he's getting the appropriate help from this kind of energetic wings. I mean, which one do you want to talk about first? Which more impressive? Is it Ugo coming in and dominating Cat? Is it Jordan Walsh on the offensive rebounds? Is it Minot just knocking down threes and guarding Jalen Brunson? I was just impressed by all 3 of their individual performances last night. I thought they were all like very vital for the Celtics coming away with that victory.
I feel like Minot has gotten the least amount of buzz in the last 24 hours, but maybe deserves a little more credit than he's getting, because he was on Brunson pretty much whenever those guys were in the game together, and he gave Brunson all kinds of trouble, I feel like, in that game.
Putting that amount of length on Brunson is like the only thing I feel like I've seen slowed him down, because Brunson last year could do whatever he wanted against Derek White, probably one of the Celtics' best perimeter defenders, and Drew Holiday for that matter. Like, that amount of length on Brunson, I thought was phenomenal. And so it's like being able to do that and just have that be an option, and not really having to worry about Cat or size. I thought that was a cool little wrinkle we saw there. And if Minot's going to do that and apparently shoot 40% from 3,
yeah, right.
Like that's a wild thing that I did not expect to get from Minot at the start of this season.
Back to that extension for Minot. Let's get that back on the table now. Yeah, the guy, like, that's for him to be able to handle that on both sides of it. Because Brunson is the guy that usually kills or has killed the Celtics in these games throughout last season. And even I guess like Mazzulla was great. Like he made sure there was length pretty much everywhere in the floor. Like did not play outside of Derek White, did not play a guard in crunch time. Like Payne Pritchard coming off his 40-point performance, like, nope, you're sitting tonight in crunch time because we don't want to have anyone that is not going to bother Brunson from a defensive standpoint. So it was the wise game plan, even though everyone else in the Knicks was hitting crazy shots. And the Celtics obviously had a few miscues there, but Minot was great. But then, I mean, his second quarter, I mean, you talked about it last night, but like everyone else, they had no answer on Cat until he came in there and just like kind of mixed it up with him. And so for that to be in play, change the complexion of that game, I feel like, from a defensive standpoint, and certainly made to the point now where I think this might be the path going forward of like all these wings deserve to play, and putting Minot at center, and playing those guys together in games like that's just a fun look, and might be the most successful look once you're getting away from the starters.
Yeah, I think going small is here to stay. And so like the fact that Ugo could just guard the other team's center, I don't know if you're going to be able to do that on a lot of teams, but he did that even when Nemi played 5 minutes in that quarter, and it allowed Nemi to kind of be off the ball, which I think helped the Celtics rebounding, helps their kind of rim protection. It's something we've seen the Celtics do when Marcus Smart was there. They put him on a big. Drew Holiday is kind of guarded the big. Ugo's going to come in. It was that 12 minutes in the second quarter where he scored 2 points, had 3 fouls and like 1 steal, but it was like a very, very impressive 12 minutes of just absolutely physically imposing his will on Karl-Anthony Towns, Karl-Anthony Towns still had a pretty impressive game, and still had 9 points in that quarter, but only 20 points for the Knicks in that entire stretch there. And so it just gives you a different dynamic, and it feels like the most talented players on this team are these, it's the guards, but you kind of supplement that with the energy wings. going small feels like it's worked, and I feel like Ugo is definitely going to be a part of that. I say that, and then like he might not play at all against them. Like who knows? But like it's just an interesting wrinkle to be able to throw off the bench, and just like his physicality, he's ready right now as a 19-year-old. It's insane.
And I'll say this too, and I don't mean to be overly negative with this kind of all. Are the Celtics just like a more enjoyable watch without Garza? Like,
Yes.
like lumbering. And I guess I think that's more of a credit to like Walsh and Ugo and Minot in that role of like them just defensively mixing it up more and offensively kind of being more diverse there. But it just seems like it's a more fascinating dynamic on the floor, and been clearly a more versatile dynamic defensively, where you're able to, Walsh is able to, obviously was on Brunson a ton last night. His fourth quarter was phenomenal after kind of being the odd man out for a lot of the first three quarters there, just to hit the offensive rebounds. I think him driving that closeout from the corner, that was a tough make off the glass there in traffic. So like just all those stuff coming together, like these are the parts of your future that you want to be developing now. And so if you can do all of them in the same game for, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes a night, like that's, I think, the best result for this team. And that's what, going small off the bench allows you to do.
Yeah, I think Walsh, the rebounds there in the fourth quarter, he continues to just make big plays. He had some nice steal. That drive you mentioned was phenomenal. That rebound he got and went right back up with it. Like all of his points there. And then again, him like setting picks for Jalen and coming off the short roll and making the right pass and being in the corner and making the right pass. I think he found White for an open three. It just makes for a more interesting team. And I think it makes for I don't know if the numbers bear it out. I know the early numbers on like the Celtics going small were not necessarily great, but they have gone small in the past week and they've had 3 of their best wins of the season. And so I feel like you have to keep riding that wave, and it's going to be interesting to see when they got more good opponents coming up. I mean, I think we talked about this stretch of 8 games that they had, and they're in the midst of it now. And they're the hope was to go 4-4 in this 8 games, and now they're already 4-1, and so they have an opportunity to. And I think they're establishing themselves as like, oh no, we're even without Jason Tatum, even after losing Kristaps, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, we're something in the Eastern Conference. I don't know what the Eastern Conference is, but we're going to be generally hanging out there, and we're not afraid of any team in the Eastern Conference, and we're plenty capable of beating all of these teams on any given night.
Yeah, it's wild to kind of see that play out, and that's why the Giannis dynamic potentially changing that in the next month or two will be fascinating to see. But yeah, in the meantime, this is what it is right now, and like Jalen's playing at a great level. They're getting a ton from the wings. Kata, like, they're not having to overrely on him and stuff like this. Like I said, they were so dependent on him for the first half season. Like they had nothing going for them when he was off the floor, and now they have the fact that they're, I feel like they kind of tried it for a couple games there, and then went going small, and then went back to Garza for a longer stretch once he put up some numbers. But like you said, this time it might be this look for good here, and that's not to say like against certain opponents, certain times you dust off Tillman, you dust off, everyone will get a shot at some point when injuries or foul trouble pops up. But it feels like this should more and more be like, this is the default, or who knows, maybe or you get a legitimate center in the door, because in another 20 games, this team is like 7 or 8 games above 500, and the Eastern Conference is still as cluttered as it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see. We mentioned Jalen is probably going to have the night off against the Wizards, but then you have 2 games after that against a very good Lakers team, Luka Doncic, LeBron James. And then the game I'm actually more excited for is going to Toronto for that 3:30 game on Sunday, because Toronto has been playing way above expectations this year. They are kind of the darlings of this Eastern Conference right now. I've always hated the Toronto Raptors, but I'm excited to see that's like the last game in this 8-game stretch. What can the Celtics do? Whatever they do, whatever does happen, Still Potable will be here to talk about it, to analyze it. We'll be back later this week with more podcasts. If you want a reaction to the Wizards, if you want a reaction to the Lakers games, go to patreon.com/stillpotable. You keep enjoying our podcast here on CLNS, watch them there, or you can get our shows wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, everything like that. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Appreciate the guys fighting about the city of Lynn in the comments. That was fun to read. And appreciate everyone out there for joining the show. Again, if you want that daily coverage, patreon.com, still potable. We'll be back later this week with more Celtics coverage, and appreciate you guys tuning in. See you then.
Still potable, still potable. The Boston Celtics still potable, still potable.